Today's video is sponsored by Bespoke. Bespoke Post is a monthly membership club delivering awesome boxes of top-shelf goods. Discover great brands for every hobby every single month. Seriously, there are so many boxes for coffee, whiskey, knives, grilling, tech, and the outdoorsmen and women. And in my opinion, one of the biggest appeals is that the stuff in the box is made by smaller brands. Every box has at least $70 in value, but only costs $45. The Weekender is aptly named because I can fit all the essentials for the weekend. Books, dice, dungeon sets, miniatures, enough character sheets for whatever misadventures my players find. The bag is great. I'm a big fan. It can hold everything you need and more for your gaming weekend. Use the journal and pen from the Frontier box to take notes during your game. Your DM sure would appreciate it. Or strap on the super sharp forge knife in case you run into goblins in real life. Take the quiz that will determine what's inside your boxes and start getting great stuff. And even after the quiz, if you don't like the box, pick a different one. You only pay for what you want. You'll get a box assigned to you each, and before it's shipped, you'll get a preview of what comes inside to decide if you'd like to keep it, swap it for a different box, or skip the month entirely for no charge. Click on the link in the description below, and use my code ALLTHINGSDND20 to get 20% off your first box. When the DM broke our minds with a terrifying horror campaign. Hi everyone, All Things D&D is back with another story. Horror campaigns may not be for everyone, but once in a while, I love getting sucked into some scary stuff. This DM is what every horror DM aspires to be. Tell us your good horror campaign tales after listening to this one, with the lights on. Our DM is an artsy type, but not in an interesting way. He likes verisimilitude more than useful information. He's like the Tolkien of DMs. We've often badgered him about his style of running things. He likes making worlds and then turning us loose in them. We happen to prefer adventure modules and whatnot. So after a particularly harsh heckling, which I regret, he offers to run us something very special, in the mode that we seem to prefer. We agree, though I fully expect some more of his mediocre twaddle. So, we start out in this shitty little town in his world's analog to Dark Age Germany. It's gray, wet, there's a lot of mud, everyone is dirt poor, all the peasants are insular and taciturn around foreigners. We groan several times as we begin, but learn that we're actually on our way through. On our way to Persia, Rome, or something. On a mission to recover some sort of artifact. The guy sending us gave us rations, supplies, and what he called Kurthaki marching powder, which we understood to be a joke, and it was more or less cocaine. A good start. Well, we head out and pass through some sort of black forest, and then a dreary swamp with incredibly dense fog, where he has us seriously make 8 spot and listen checks. Every once in a while pausing for like 3 minutes at a time and asking if we had any more modifiers to add. As usual, his descriptions of the surrounding area are incredibly articulate, sometimes bordering on the poetic. It had been corny most of the time, but this time it worked, because this time it wasn't just hollow detail. There were things to notice, cryptic but alluring hints towards the nature of something. We didn't know what it was. There was no hint towards what it was we were supposed to be learning about, only that there was something. Something fast, something slick, something twisting and limp, but taut and strong that was pursuing. Not us, but chasing something. Something that a moment later took on its traits. I can't even begin to describe it. We actually forgot for a moment that we were supposed to be playing. We were hypnotized. He shook us out of it, all of a sudden with orcs that cartwheeled and spun out of the swamp, dragging moisture from the air back into the swamp as they emerged, dragging gore from the ground back into their bodies into closing wounds as they did, losing pallor and glazed expression to take on the green vibrance of life, and psychically drawing weapons to them from the ground in brackish water. We killed them, throwing them back into the water directly from whence they came, and reopened their wounds for them. We were pretty sure that was it. We met some weird folk after that, like an elf who refused to walk on the wet stone of the road through the swamp, to the point of laying down 2 squares of wood to walk upon as he went, and talking entirely in paradox. Eventually we took the wooden planks away from him, and broke them when he tried to take them back. If he kept walking so slowly, he'd get his ass killed by zombie orcs, right? The mook just sat down and started crying after that, but we kept going. Sounds like pretty standard fare, doesn't it? Oh, we thought so too. We complimented the DM at the end of the session for a job well done. He had really gotten us with those zombie orcs. Really creepy. Oh, but it only got worse from there. We arrived in a village. A little village on the outskirts of the country we were supposed to be entering. Do you remember the bit about how good he was at describing things? Well, he brought us to tears here. It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever heard put into words before. He described the most idyllic and wonderful place imaginable. It was a golden town full of vibrant life and surrounded by flowing wheat. The people came up and greeted us, welcoming us to their little town. All the men were friendly and offered us lodging and hospitality, and all the women were long braided and beautiful, with ample bosoms and wide eyes. Every home had a bronze symbol of the sun, with a grinning face on it nailed to the door, and every street corner had women twirling slowly on the spot, dancing in the joy of the daytime, and the people all moved in rhythm, taking long steps every 2 or 3 seconds of walking, sidestepping as they spoke. Very musical people, too. They were always humming. It was good stuff, so we figured we'd stay around for a while to check everything out. We go to the inn and get ourselves some rooms. We chat up the townsfolk, and we learn that the town is called Carljdown. I think this is a laugh, and decide that I'm in this town for the women, so I convince 3 of the women to sleep with me. They are, of course, promiscuous people whose religion revolves around how awesome strangers are. Go figure. So the rest of the crew follows suit, and we all wake up surrounded by ladies. We head out into the street, and start noticing things. For one thing, the same women are dancing on the same street corners. Everybody greets us by name with elaborate greetings. Nobody just says hi. Nobody just says good morning. They say, "May the light of the Lord of Light shine on you," or "Welcome to the dawn of his glorious day." It doesn't take us long to realize that the DM is talking entirely in rhythm with the music that's playing in the background. He had been since the first moment. The townsfolk were all speaking in meter. Dee-da, 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 like a heartbeat. We start freaking out, because we knew that something was wrong with this place. Somewhere in the back of our minds, we knew that there had to be. We're all over that shit in a heartbeat. We start asking questions. The local lord is a sorcerer, but all the damn lords in this place are sorcerers. The gray marshes that we pass through are terrifying places that nobody likes traveling through. Well, no joke, the primary crop is grave wheat, which only grows on ground watered with human blood. Sounds like a good crop to be Oh, wait. Yeah. So the cleric starts detecting evil. Everything shows up. Everything. The dirt? Evil. The people? Evil. The houses? Evil. The DM asks for a spot check, which he's been doing for a while now, though he hadn't really given it much thought after the first 30 times. For once he sits up straight, and all of a sudden says, "You notice that the man speaking to you has no eyes. None of them do." There's a full 10 seconds of silence before he adds, "They never did." He then begins to elaborate upon what else they did and didn't have. The list was elaborate and traumatizing. The end result, boneless, toothless, eyeless, with long rubbery limbs and gray flesh. What we had mistaken for braids on the women had been long blackened tongues. Tongues, he said, that we had grown rather accustomed to during the night there. We start freaking out about halfway through that last bit. I smash the one we're talking to's face in with a morning star. The sorcerer turns around and lights the little gang of women that had been following us on fire. Some of them, covered in ragged cloaks of human skin, attack. Some begin flailing about like lunatics, screeching and cackling and talking backwards. Instead of attacking, they would rub up against us, shuddering, slithering, and boneless, moving into our way when we tried to flee, and taking our blows like they were nothing, until we had hewn them to bits. It was sick and unnerving, and it didn't make any sense, but we killed them. We killed all of them. Every single one of them. We cleared that village out, one goddamn building at a time, killing the lipless horrors and the little sharp-toothed ones that gnawed at our ankles and jumped out of dark corners, and the ones that grabbed our legs, and the ones that would throw themselves at us while others flanked around or ran off to ambush us later. We killed them all and ended the threat. But we knew what the root of the problem was. It was the wheat, the grave wheat. It must have been corrupting the people with foul necromancy. So we painted warnings on the buildings, left notes for anybody who might have come, and warned them of what would happen if they ate the stuff. And then we lit the fields on fire and left. The DM ended our 3rd session there and congratulated us on a job well done. The next session, though, he showed up with a Dark Heresy book. We had been wanting to play that for a long time, and he said he had brought character sheets and everything, and we all had our fill of horror. Gruesome death was one thing, but that stuff was just surreal. Too much. So we purged some heretics from then on. Didn't take one look back at D&D for a few months. Then we came back. Not to the same campaign. Nobody mentioned it again. The DM had us roll up characters and had us start out in the same little town we began in before. We're all a bit worried, but he raises our spirits by informing us that it's fall. It had been spring when we had departed last time. It It wasn't just a start over, it was something different. Good stuff. We get almost precisely the same starting equipment as the first group, from almost the exact same quest-giving priest. We don't get the marching powder, though, which was good. It had struck me as a bit goofy anyway. So, we're going on our merry little way down the swamp road. We don't run into any orcs, which is good, but we do find an elf with broken legs. The emaciated, starved corpse of an elf with broken legs. Clearly orc work. We proceed and get what amounts to the single darkest moment in the entire history of my gaming life. We found the town. Burned black. Scorched earth. The surrounding fields are little more than ashes and soot worn down by fall rains into a thick slurry. The sky is dark. It's dusk, but we proceed through the early evening with torches and investigate the town. It is a scene of unspeakable carnage. 100 people killed like animals. Weaponless men, hewn down as they tried to defend their families. Women butchered as they attempted to clear the escapes of their children. Monks wearing the white robes of pacifists, who had clearly tried to grapple and pin down their assailants, beaten down and split open with repeated, unnecessary, horrible, mutilating strikes. And the buildings. The buildings were covered with writings, in blood, gibberings, and the frothing babble of madmen. Rhyming, rhythmic, mournful, furious meanderings that made no sense, but read clearly nonetheless, for they all had something in common. Like one long, grand verse, they were written in iambic pentameter. So, we try reading the stuff on the wall. It's gibberish, but we read it. It rhymes. It's incredibly messed up sounding. The DM busts out a piece of paper that's very, very nearly black with text and reads it. It's the closest thing to the sound of madness I've ever heard. If I had a copy of it, I'd post every word of it here, and there must have been 800 words on that sheet. The text was microscopic. It was incredible. I don't even know what it was, because the rhyme scheme made no sense, but flowed anyway. It was like each burst of 5, there would be either 1 or 2 rhymes, but it went on for so long that we stopped listening to it. We stopped paying attention to what he was saying. So when he just started describing the 3 figures, gaunt and lanky, still holding the morning star and sword, hands still wreathed in flame, that were lowering themselves behind us, narrated even as it happened on the wall, we didn't notice. Didn't notice until he stood up and started screaming it at us, 1 word at a time. At that point, even the DM was sweating, and one of the players was crying. It was genuinely the most terrifying thing imaginable. He had already destroyed us with a calm voice and an even face. Now, he brought it home. We didn't even roll initiative. Our previous characters butchered us to the insane ramblings of the DM. It was horrifying. I regret giving the DM a hard time, and I would like to go back to the way things were. Well, that gave me some serious chills. Great storytelling on the DM's part. Pretty twisted, in fact. Please let us know what you think and comment below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, All Things D&D. Our videos are posted every Tuesday and Friday, so stay tuned for more amazing Dungeons & Dragons content.